We welcome in Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob. Rob, we appreciate you, man. We're sorry. We're sorry you had to leave Sacramento in disappointment on Monday night. We were all really excited that you were here. We were excited to see the content you were putting out, and well, you left sad with the rest of us.
I did. I was able to salvage a, I guess, therapy session after the game ended outside the arena on that little patch of grass that's right in front of the beam. I met some fans and out there and just kind of talking to them about what are you going to do when they actually clinch? Who do you want to play in the playoffs? Because I was anticipating, I brought my riot gear, I brought my knee pads, I brought my face shield. I was ready to start flipping cars if that's what it came to. I was not encouraging that type of activity, but if it were to occur, I was going to be prepared for it. And my goal was to create the Kings version of what the Knicks had with the Bing Bong video, a year or two ago. And it just didn't happen. So I got myself a very standard man on the street type video out of it. But listen, going up there for the first time ever, you could just tell how passionate the fan base is. And it was, as said to everyone that I spoke to, everyone did everything correctly that night. The fans, the front office, the arena, the staff, everybody did their job except for the players winning the game. Yeah. That's the only thing that didn't happen because it really, you could feel it bulging, especially when Kevin Huerter made that three with about 5 minutes left and they were getting right back into it. That was, I thought it was going to happen. Something special was transpiring, but it's why they play the game, my friends.
I'm kind of upset we didn't get to see you in the riot gear. Like that might be the biggest loss of the night. We didn't get to see Rob in the riot gear.
Ready to go, my friends. I was prepared for just about anything. The Kings were very generous with lending out some staff as well to capture what we anticipated was going to be a very special night for Sacramento. But there will be plenty of special nights. And of course, there's a bigger picture. You're eventually going to clinch the playoffs probably tonight. It was just one of those I kind of wish it happened. I don't know. It'll still be fun. You guys are going to celebrate and you'll look back on this like, oh, we clinched anyway. So who cares? But dang, so close to that special moment.
Yeah, no, I feel you 100%. Rob, we are, and I'll admit it, we are very sensitive to how the Kings are portrayed in the national media and, NBA Twitter and things of that nature. And that's probably why you get so much love here in Sacramento. Because from day one, this felt like the first time you ever saw the beam. You're like, this is amazing. I need to watch this team more. And we know you watch your NBA basketball. You watch everything that's going on. And then you saw the team. You're like, yo, these guys are amazing. And you championed the beam, the Kings, the beam team from day one. And we've always appreciated that. What was it for you that you saw the beam and you saw everything going on? You're like, this is cool, not this is corny.
Yeah. So first of all, I am definitely not the type of person that wants to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Okay. If something deserves credit or critique, I'm usually the person that's willing to give that. Now, the Kings have been on the wrong end of some of Wob's content in the past, but it's been justified. I mean, 16 years is a really long time. And a lot of fans don't like it or take it personally when you crack jokes about their team. But if you're going to dish it out, you got to be able to take it. The respect that you want is the respect that you got to give those sentiments that are in real life. I also apply to content. So when there is something special that is occurring, you better believe, for as much as I may have clowned them in the past, I will give them credit when they deserve it. And then this beam just shoots up in the sky. And being someone that has perspective of the world and knows that basketball is very much a game and there's more important things going on in life. When you see something completely random shooting out of a stadium at night in the middle of Sacramento, California, okay, that's something that interests me just because of the absurdity of it. I just thinking outside the box creative like that. And I know the execution of getting that thing into the sky and having to get the FAA to sign off on it. Now you've piqued my interest. Okay. I'm into movies like Scary Movie, not the movies that they parody. Okay. I like the parodies. And this was a parody of everything that people take the NBA too seriously. Times. Look at the MVP conversation. I don't want any part of that. I mean, that's as toxic as it gets. I like to focus on, again, what makes the NBA fun, whether it's jokes against or for a certain program. So the beam, to answer your question, the beam goes up in the sky. The fans immediately embrace it. And I know when I see that beam, the first thing I'm thinking about is this is the most memeable thing that I've seen in the NBA. And within, 2 days, all those memes that are now all across the internet, popping up left and right. I'm doing my part to contribute to it. You've even got the Austin Powers, what was her name? Fran something with the light the beam. You know, someone's paying her to light that or to say that. So that type of culture is something that drew me to the Kings this season. They back their words and all of their bravado up with actual results as well, because they are, at one point, it felt like 20 games over 500. So it checked all the boxes, and just being a kind of a bandwagon for this season, appreciating the content, appreciating the team, and appreciating history. I'm very much a dog chasing cars, and the thrill is in the chase. And for Kings fans, I hope you can relate to that as well.
The NBA celebrates its best players with all NBA nods. If Twitter celebrated their best follows, you'd be an all Twitter follow. He's
MVP of NBA Twitter, man.
There's no doubt about that. And you have found unique ways to cover the league from the League Pass menu, which is always a lot of fun. And I'm seeing your individual award leaderboard, which I've got to ask you a question about, because it's one that Kenny and I have actually discussed. You've got Mike Brown slotted in there as Coach of the Year, and De'Aaron Fox as the Clutch Player of the Year. And you have Kobe Altman as the Executive of the Year. And we figured there's probably only two other people in addition to Monty McNair in the discussion, and Altman being one of them and Scott Perry probably being the other. How did you land on Kobe Altman, who I do think is very worthy of this honor?
Yeah, for that category, for those of you that don't know, what D'Lo, in case you're talking about it, I've been for 18 weeks, the equivalent of a golf leaderboard. I put who the leader in the clubhouse is after that week, and I like to track it throughout the season. It's just kind of a unique way of going about the whole individual award conversation. And the Executive of the Year, I think, has the most turnover week to week of any award. I've been switching. I had James Jones on there after the KD trade, and even a Leon Rose sighting at some point, but I landed on Kobe Altman for this week, and he'll probably end up being what is going to be the final pick here when the final leaderboard comes out next week. When I think of an executive, I mean, it's got to be either a major move, or in the case of someone like the Utah Jazz, a rebuild, which has just been expedited overnight. And you're putting yourself in your franchise in a position to succeed almost immediately. So for me, by bringing in the likes of Donovan Mitchell, they got Rubio back there. Then there was they got Kevin Love out. Just Karis LeVert. I mean, the Cavs this is the first time that they're going to make the playoffs without LeBron James, I think, since 2000 maybe. It's been a really long time for them as well. They have their own little king streak going when you take LeBron James out of the question. So for them to pull off those major blockbuster moves, for them to work, for those players to be locked up long term, if I'm choosing executive as opposed to coach, I think there was a huge roll of the dice there. And that's not to say Monty McNair has not had a successful campaign thus far, but I wouldn't say the moves the Kings have made this particular season are as risky of a dice throw as what Kobe Altman had to do, because, I mean, assets, they traded Markkanen, man. I mean, Markkanen's on the move. We see what he's been doing in Utah, and we didn't think about that at the time, but it was a big risk. They're going to have home court advantage in the first round, and I think it's probably going to pay off in the long term for this franchise and getting back to relevancy.
That De'Aaron Fox, by the way, that Clutch Player of the Year hasn't changed in a long time.
You know what's funny about that, by the way, is if it wasn't for De'Aaron Fox, we would be it's a consensus for DeMar DeRozan, because he is in second place way by himself. Despite the Bulls struggling this year, you look at all of total points scored, efficiency percentages in the clutch, which is defined as a score differential, 5 points or less in the final 5 minutes of the game. De'Aaron Fox is, again, in a category of his own, and he's going to win the award. But DeRozan is, without a doubt, in second. And he's been awesome again. And if this award was around last year, he would have won it last year for all those buzzer beaters that he hit, how great he was in the final 5 minutes, getting the Bulls to the first round and their own home court advantage, I believe. He's been awesome, but that's just a testament to how special De'Aaron Fox's season has been. Because if you made DeMar DeRozan irrelevant with the season that he's had, that's pretty special.
No, that's all fair, man. And it's all fair coming from a guy like yourself. Like I said, one of the things that we have an issue with is like these people, they make these war predictions and they say all this stuff and they use the excuse of being on the East Coast. They don't stay up and watch. So how are you going to make the argument? But we know you watch everything, Rob. We love you.
No, that's the thing, by the way. Let's talk about that for a second, if we don't mind, because I don't blame someone that works for the Detroit Free Press or the Cleveland, whatever the newspaper there is, the Milwaukee Sentinel Journal. Their job is to cover the teams in those cities. They are there with Giannis. They are there with their teams. They likely have families. They have lives. I don't blame anyone, nor do I think it's an unfair expectation for them to have to watch every single dribble of every single game. But to your point, if you're going to have an award or you're going to have a vote for an award, and that vote influences not only the amount of money that's going into these players' pockets with all NBA, MVP, all of these incentives, but it affects team salary caps as well, because those incentives affect bonuses and things like that. You better have a pretty, I would say, extensive knowledge. Doesn't need to be every dribble of every game, but you need to have a very good cognizant wherewithal of what's going on in the world. And if you don't stay up for the West Coast games, I do find that to be a prerequisite that you're at least keeping up with it the following morning or that night. You don't have to be a part of the conversation in real time, but you need to be able to speak about the Sacramento Kings the same way that you do your own team. You got homework in school, in college, or whatever. You know, you went to class. Going to class is covering your team, but you need to do your homework after class is done, and that is reading the textbook, what you missed, you know, during that specific session. That's going and watching the West Coast teams. You know, how else would you know De'Aaron Fox is the most clutch player in the NBA if you didn't?
Exactly.
Is there a team, before we let you go, is there a team that you really like in the West? That's what we were talking about right before you joined us. We're trying to figure out this Western Conference. And, you know, we talk regularly. Kings can go to the Western Conference Finals. Kings can go to the NBA Finals. And it's like, oh, the Kings are so good. It's like, no, there's no one in the West that I find scary. Reserve a little bit of judgment on Phoenix for right now, given that one of the greatest players of all time is about to suit up for them tonight. But is there a team in this conference where you're like, watch out for them?
Well, the obvious one is Phoenix. But as always in the NBA playoffs, getting to the finals is about your path. Okay. Which side of the bracket are you on? Are you playing the Clippers in the first round? Are you playing the Suns in the first round? That's a little bit more difficult than potentially, I don't know, just name another team. So where the Kings are at currently in the 3 seed will likely line them up with the likes of Golden State. And I know that says Warriors on the front of the jersey. That's scary. It's going to be a border war because you guys are in close proximity to them. They have Steph Curry. I understand those things, but I would rather play the Warriors this year if they don't have Andrew Wiggins than the Phoenix Suns with that nuclear weapon in Kevin Durant. But your original question was about maybe a team that's not obvious, because the Suns would probably be my pick. But I can tell you right before I logged on here about an hour and a half ago, I bet the Wolves to win the Western Conference because I got a ridiculous number on it. But I have them now sitting, again, this is a bad number. It doesn't exist, but I have them at 70-1 to win the West. And that is because watching them live in Sacramento, and when they're at full strength in their ability to influence the game on the defensive side, right? Offense is another story with Gobert and Cat out there. But what Gobert did to DeMontis, just kind of influencing every single putback motion, they were all cognizant of where Gobert is. You could really see just his mere presence and how much that matters. Now, you combine that with Cat coming back, the emergence of McDaniels as an all first team, all defender, Anthony Edwards blossoming into a star, and now they have a floor general and Mike Conley. I'm starting to see the ingredients to the recipe that if the stars align and their path works out.
Don't like this, Rob. Don't like this. I don't like this at all. You know, part of the reason we don't like it, we just learned it. You know who was really feeling the Wolves after their win on Monday? The Wolves.
Yeah.
Apparently the Timberwolves were Mark Spears hipped us to the Timberwolves were pretty vocal about what they had just accomplished in Sacramento on Monday. And so to hear you follow that up with this, don't like it, man.
Ooh. They're a bad matchup for the Kings just because of their size. And we know the Kings have been bothered by Walker Kessler and Rudy Gobert this year several times. Yep. And Domantas Sabonis is not 7'4".
Brother, they were bothered by Thomas Bryant.
They were bothered. Yeah, they get bothered by size down low. And listen, the Kings are very unique. I'm looking forward to them proving that pace and space in free-flowing basketball can work in the playoffs. It's a different sport, man. It's going to slow down into the half court. You're going to have to grind out those half court possessions. A lot of the things that made the Kings great this regular season, usually you would say isn't going to work, but the Kings do not stop running. They're going to turn everything into a track meet. And that's why I think it's potential to be something special. We'll find out if it works real soon.
No doubt. We, man, you were so kind to join us. Like, can we promote anything for you? Like your fantasy campaign, like anything? Like, man, we appreciate you.
No. Thank you guys for having me. And I'm affiliated with Underdog Fantasy. So if you ever have any interest, that's where all the content goes that I create. I'm editing the video from Sacramento right now. It'll be up on Underdog Fantasy's YouTube channel. And if you like things like pick'ems, higher lowers, you've seen it at this point. Over unders, I think, whatever they're called. You find us at Underdog Fantasy, and I think you're into that kind of stuff. You'll find a home here. So thanks.
You got a lot of, man, you manage a lot lot of content, man.
He really does.
That's a lot of content, bro.
And Rob, my partner can co-sign this. This ain't a work here. My dream NBA Finals is what, Damian?
oh God! Don't say Kings Knicks.
It's the Kings and the Knicks.
I'm a Knicks supporter. I'm a Kings fan
Kings
first. It's the hometown, but I'm a Knicks supporter. I got love for the Knicks.
It's much appreciated. We could all dream for sure. But yeah, the real world does tend to slap you across the face pretty hard. So at some point, that dream will come to an end. But Kings fans and Knicks fans, we have a lot in common. And I think that's why we get along. We share a lot of the same experiences with being on the wrong end of a lot of jokes, years and years of either irrelevancy or mediocrity. And then when you're good, it makes it all the better. I would choose no other team than the Knicks, or on the West Coast, probably the Kings, because once again, dog chasing cars. What do you do when you catch the ice cream truck? That's no fun. You go home. Thrills in the chase.
Love it. Rob, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Hope we get to do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right.